What is going on, friends? Thank you for joining us live for this bracket selection show that we are doing here. Your boy had a long night last night at the United Center, but I am feeling good and so happy that you guys are joining me for this one. We're going to do things a little different today. We've had some new equipment come in, some new software come in, so we are going to be doing a little bit of a live video. And it's going to be a lot of fun, so you're going to see a lot of different things. I think what we're going to try to do as the selection show starts, we're going to go to ESPN.com, where I'm doing a bracket with, this bracket is with the radio station that I work for here in the city of Chicago. And what we're going to do is we're going to select our winner. We're going to do the whole bracket, and you guys can make fun of me exactly about how I make my picks, and we can argue back and forth about it. But it's definitely going to be a really good time. I can't wait to see how this turns out. We did this for our fantasy football draft, what was it, last August, September? And we did pretty good. Ended up in the finals in that league, so you guys just might be good luck for me. But yeah, you guys are seeing here. If you're new to us here on Sports from the Couch on Mercado Airwaves, hi, thank you for joining us. I'm here live at the studio. This is the Sports Corner, Sports from the Couch Corner. You can see all the cool Wrigley Field Chicago Cubs World Series stuff. But I actually went to the Bulls game last night, like I told you all, and they were giving away some fun stuff I want to show you guys before we do the selection. So Comcast was giving away pretty cool little jerseys. You can see that right there. I'm fat, so I got a little bit of a bigger size. So that's fun. But it was Benny the Bull's birthday, and Benny will be going into the Hall of Fame, and they gave us one of these. You guys can see it right there. Pretty cool. He's holding his own statue. Pretty fun. And that's what they were giving away at the United Center last night for all the fans. I was able to have a really good time with Theo Jeff. Fun times. Obviously, every time we get together, it's always great when you're with family and you guys get to watch a ball game and whatnot. But some fun times at the United Center. I guess we'll do the elephant in the room. They won in overtime, and you know, luckily for them, Cleveland lost. Cleveland won that same night. The problem is, though, is you could have been half a game back of that third seed in the draft standings. So this team has definitely, even after that 5-game losing streak, beating Phoenix and now beating Washington is definitely not going to help this Bulls team when it comes to trying to get Zion. But speaking of Zion, when we come back, it is time to make our bracket selections. Stay with us. We have more from Sports from the Couch on this live edition here on Mercado Airwaves. I'm Mike Mercado. Alrighty, guys. So by the time we get things rolling, you're going to see a little bit of a transition here. It's not all that smooth. We'll try to figure out a way to do that. But it's time. Let's go into the selection bracket. So you're about to tweak out a little bit. Let's do this. All right, here we are. We are on the selection bracket, ESPN's version of it. I am doing this tournament for all you guys to see with my group right here. This is the name that ESPN gives us. NewsWeb Radio Group is the selection. I guess that would just be the group name. That is our radio station that we work for. But it is time we make the selections. You guys know how I feel about this. Chalk is one thing. I think it should be. You can't. I don't think you're dumb for picking, chalk. I think, you pick who you think the best teams are. But I also think you shouldn't over-analyze this process. It is the luck of the draw, a lot of this. And I'm very interested to see how many people just go Duke all the way. Because I can't blame them. But this is why we waited very much until only an hour and 40 minutes until tip-off of the first game and, quote-unquote, the second round. This isn't the second round. This is the first day of the tournament. I hate that Tuesday, Wednesday garbage. But I think if you overthink it, you're putting yourself into some trouble. So I'm going to do this once, and that's it. We're moving on. Well, we won't look about it again until it's time to make fun of us. So why don't we start off in the East region? It is Duke versus North Dakota State. We will go with Duke. How about VCU versus UCF? 8 and 9 seed. I guess I will go with chalk. I will go VCU, a more typical basketball school, at least when Shaka Smart was there. But 8-9 is so tough. Mississippi State, Liberty. I will go Mississippi State. How about Virginia Tech versus St. Louis? Now, if you watch ESPN and a lot of these different analysts and experts of college basketball, Virginia Tech has been a very hot name. And a lot of people are excited for the potential Virginia Tech-Duke matchup in the Sweet 16. But for some reason, I'm hovering over St. Louis. I feel like Virginia Tech, ACC team, will probably win this game. I really like St. Louis at that seed as a 13 seed. But I don't think that that's where the upset is going to come in from. So I will go with Virginia Tech for now. That one's going to be a tough one to swallow, but we'll come back to that one maybe. I'll let that one simmer in a little bit. God, we're only 3 picks in. I'm already regretting it. Maryland versus Belmont. I will go with Maryland. I actually thought Maryland would have a better season than they did. But tournament time, a bigger team. We'll go that way. LSU versus Yale. I will go LSU. How about Louisville versus Minnesota? I will actually go with Minnesota. And it's funny how they put the Patino son up against Louisville. And Michigan State versus the media-friendly, the amazingly coherent, know how to keep things in track, Bradley. Michigan State stomps all over Bradley. Well-deserved. It sucks, too, because I wanted to root for Bradley, but can't do it. Gonzaga versus F. Dickinson. Well, you go ahead and put in Gonzaga right there. How about Syracuse versus Baylor? I'm going to go Baylor in this one. Syracuse has a big injury, and, this is a team that Jim Boeheim and Syracuse, they have all the talent in the world every single year. But other than that Carmelo year, and I forgot who was the year a few years after that, but maybe the LaMelo year, but they're not a team that I've seen do very well in the tournament. And they play that schlocky zone, and they slow down the ball. It's just, I don't like Syracuse in that matchup. I'm going to go with Baylor. Marquette versus Murray State. Just because he might be a future Bull, I'll go John Moran in that one. Let's go Murray State. Florida State versus Vermont. I will go Florida State. Buffalo versus Arizona State. I will go. Just watched Arizona State last night at the United Center, actually. So I wonder if having them have to play like that. I will go with. Ooh, this is a tough one. The 6 and the 11. I could easily see Arizona State winning this game. I'll go Buffalo. How about Texas versus North Kentucky? We'll go Texas Tech. Nevada versus Florida. Here's an interesting one. Any year, I would have Florida and Nevada both going pretty far into this tournament. I like both teams. I like where their ranking is. I like their seeding. I like their size. I like the programs. There's a lot that you can go into when it comes to this Russian roulette that is the bracket selection. I'm going to go Florida on this one. But don't get it twisted. Nevada is going to be a tough out for the winner of the Michigan State-Montana game. I'm going to go Michigan in that one. But you're going to see in a lot of people's brackets, Nevada versus Michigan. And that's going to be interesting. I'm going to go Florida-Michigan in this one. I feel like that's the game we're going to see. That's a game we'll see in this tournament. But I'm not going to be shocked if it goes the other way. Let's head on to the other side of the bracket. So in case you are just joining us now on Sports from the Couch here on Mercado Airwaves, a live Facebook edition of it. We really appreciate you guys joining us. And we'll start off in the East region. Once again, we have Duke over North Dakota State. We have VCU over UCF. Mississippi State over Liberty. Virginia Tech over St. Louis. Maryland versus Belmont. LSU over Yale. We have Minnesota over Louisville. We have Michigan State over Bradley. Heading to the West region, we have Gonzaga over Dickinson. We have Baylor over Syracuse. Murray State over Marquette. Florida State over Vermont. Buffalo versus Arizona State. Texas Tech over North Kentucky. Florida over Nevada. And Michigan over Montana. Setting up the next round of 32 on that side of the bracket. But we move on to the South region with the number 1 seed, Virginia, playing Gardner-Webb. We'll go Virginia with this one. Virginia will not be losing in the first round this year in the tournament. Ole Miss versus Oklahoma. I will go Oklahoma on that one. Let's go Wisconsin, Oregon. We'll go Big Ten. Kansas State versus UC Irvine. Here's the 13-4 matchup. I will go with, ooh boy. I'll go UC Irvine. Why not? I don't know what Kansas State's really going to do. Maybe that's just my lack of knowledge, but I'll go UC Irvine on that one. Villanova versus St. Mary's. So, Villanova helped me win this very same bracket group a few years back, and Villanova is one of those teams where they get in, and they haven't had that great of a season. But if they get in, they stay healthy, they can make a run at it. St. Mary's, a traditional good tournament team, always around there. I want to go with St. Mary's really bad. I really do. I promise you, if it were even Maryland, if it were any other 6 seed, I would go with St. Mary's. I'm going to go Villanova in this round, though. I don't think Villanova gets bounced early in this tournament. How about Purdue versus Old Dominion? We'll go Purdue. I think Purdue is actually a really good team. I don't know how far they're going to make it, but Purdue's a really good team. Cincinnati versus Iowa. I can't stand Iowa. I'm going to go Cincinnati in this one, so we'll go that direction. And Tennessee versus Colgate, we will go with the Volunteers. And a quick wrap-up of the South region. We have Virginia over Gardner-Webb, Oklahoma over Ole Miss, Wisconsin over Oregon, UC Irvine over Kansas State, Villanova over St. Mary's, Purdue over Old Dominion, Cincinnati over Iowa, and Tennessee over Colgate. Why don't we move on to the Midwest region? North Carolina versus Iona. We'll go North Carolina in the 1 seed. Utah State versus Washington. I'll go with Washington in this one. How about Auburn versus New Mexico State? We'll go Auburn on this one. You know what? What's funny is I want to stick to Auburn in just 1 second. Give me 1 second, guys. Having a sip of coffee in my Spider-Man cup. But I wanted to talk a little bit about Auburn. So what this tournament is, and we'll jump back into the selections in just a little bit, but when you guys are doing this, let me know all over social media. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333, Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/MikeMercado2333. What do you guys play this tournament for? Are you guys playing to pick the champion of that season? Are you guys playing to have the most correct? Are you playing to have the most upsets for the most amount of money won? That's what I always find interesting about the bracket. You know, obviously you want bragging rights to select the right amount of teams, that you pick the winners. You also want bragging rights to say, I had the most green instead of red on this bracket. But for me, it's about the upsets. Because at one point in this tournament, it will even out. It will be the 1 seeds, the 2 seeds, the 3 seeds for the most part. Until there's those upsets that you got to pick. So everybody, as you're going to find out later in the bracket selection, everybody's going to pretty much have North Carolina, Duke. Those are kind of the easy ones, right? But it's everything in between that's going to help you win these brackets, help you win some money. So even if you don't have the greatest of reasons, you have to have what your gut says is the best likely outcome. Which was more likely to happen, to have that upset, excuse me. Your boy had a long night last night, as you can see with the glorious hair. And that's why I'm very fascinated to see exactly where that ends up for you guys. So do me a favor, after we're done with the entire show, follow us all over social media, even on Twitter. The network's on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. Send us your bracket and let us know how you guys did, and then we'll compete. Maybe we'll give out a prize to the winner who had the best bracket. We'll give out some digital copies to some DVDs. But let's get back to the bracket, guys. All right, so we left off at Kansas Northeastern. I'll go Kansas in this one, but I think Kansas is in for an early exit, like usual, in the tournament. Some interesting stuff for you Bulls fans as well. There is that rumor that Bill Self has been targeted or has been rumored to be the new head coach of the Chicago Bulls. I mean, I don't know what you do with that. I don't know how you could have any idea who your coach is going to be without even knowing where you're going to draft, who's going to be on your roster. But that is the rumor as it is. Iowa State versus Ohio State. We'll go Iowa State on that one. Houston versus Georgia State, we'll go Houston. Wofford versus Seton Hall, we will go Wofford. And Kentucky taking on Albany Christian, we will go with Kentucky. Kentucky, a very quiet 2-seed. See, that's a team, too. We'll talk about it in just a little bit, how far we think we are. But bringing out the Midwest, we have North Carolina over Iona, Washington over Utah, Auburn over New Mexico State, Kansas over Northeastern, Iowa State over Ohio State, Houston over Georgia State, Wofford over Seton Hall, and Kentucky over Albany Christian. Setting up our round of 32 here on Mercado Airways Sports from the Couch. And we'll start off in the East region, Duke versus VCU. We will have Duke moving on. How about Mississippi State versus Virginia Tech? I'll go with chalk. I will go with what people are saying. I'll go Virginia Tech making it to the Sweet 16 against Duke in another big matchup. We move forward, Maryland versus LSU. I think I'm a homer for this one, and I really like the Big Ten. And I think LSU's obviously going to be a more athletic team. But I'll go Maryland in this one. And I'll go Michigan State in this one, setting up a Big Ten Sweet 16. I might regret that, but I'll stick with that right there. I've always had to think about Maryland. Gonzaga against Baylor. I'll go Gonzaga on this one. But, man, that one's a hard one to really, it's going to be hard to pick Gonzaga going for farther and farther when you just kind of know the history of that program. A great program, but just can't get that big one. Florida State over Murray State. I think that's an easy one, even though I think John Morant, it's going to be his breakout in this tournament. We'll see how that ends up playing out. Buffalo versus Texas Tech. I'll go Buffalo going to the Sweet 16. Why not? Florida versus Michigan. I'm going to go Michigan on this one. But I'm going to tell you something right now. If Florida gets to this round, if this ends up being that matchup, it's going to be a tough one for Michigan. But I think that's how that's going to work out. Let's move on to the other side of the bracket, Virginia versus Oklahoma. We will go with Virginia on this one. I think Virginia does have a chance to do this. They do shoot the ball better. It's not the same team as last year, so we'll go that one. I'll go Wisconsin, getting over UC Irvine, heading into the Sweet 16. Villanova versus Purdue. I will go. A lot of people like Purdue. You know what? I'm not going to second guess it. I'll go with the team with the experience. I'll go Villanova. Even though there's been a lot of turnaround, there's just something about that program that when tournament starts, they just rev it up. And Cincinnati versus Tennessee, I will go Tennessee on that one. And finally, in our last matchups to get to the Sweet 16, North Carolina versus Washington, we'll go North Carolina. Auburn versus Texas, I will go with Auburn. How about Iowa State versus Houston? I will go Iowa State. And Wofford versus Kentucky, let's go Kentucky. So let's move on to our Sweet 16. We have Duke versus Virginia Tech. I know you guys are going to hate me, and nobody wants to. Sometimes the easiest and right answer isn't the most fun. We'll go with Duke over Virginia Tech. Maryland versus Michigan State. I will go with Michigan State. Moving down the bracket, Gonzaga versus Florida State. I have to go Gonzaga. How about Buffalo versus Michigan? I will go Michigan. And I know, guys, you're going to yell at me. A 1 and 2 and a 1 and 2, but sometimes the right answer is just the right answer, I think. Virginia versus Wisconsin. I'll go Virginia. Sorry, guys. I think Virginia is going to make a run on it. How about Villanova versus Tennessee? I'm going to go Villanova. I may be just too high on Villanova, guys. I might just be. North Carolina versus Auburn. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. I don't know, guys. North Carolina. I just go North Carolina. Yeah, you know what? Don't fight it. Just go North Carolina. I will go Kentucky here. So, sorry, guys. In the Elite Eight, it's pretty chalk for me. It is Duke versus Michigan State. Gonzaga versus Michigan, North Carolina versus Kentucky, and Villanova versus Virginia. In the Duke-Michigan State matchup, I'm going to save that one for last because obviously that's going to be the one that decides how good this bracket does. Michigan versus Gonzaga, I think Michigan is going to the Final Four. North Carolina versus Kentucky, I think North Carolina is going to the Final Four. And Villanova versus Virginia, I think Villanova is going to the Final Four. Which brings us to this one. Duke, Michigan State. Michigan State got screwed into selection. I think Duke is the odds-on favorite, obviously, to win this tournament. I think Duke matches up better with anybody else on this bracket, just hands down. There's no better coach and team in that bracket in NCAA in March Madness than Tom Izzo, Michigan State. I'm only Michigan State in this one. I don't even want to think about it, guys, because this is going to be too much. Okay, so we have our matchups. Let's go ahead and come down to the middle. Let's see how they do it here. I don't see it. Interesting. So why isn't it? Let's take a look. Oh, okay, here. So in the Final Four, sorry, guys, I totally spaced it. In the Final Four, I have Michigan State versus Michigan and Villanova versus North Carolina. I think in this year's tournament, we will see a Michigan State versus North Carolina national championship. And I think the Michigan State Spartans win. I will go with the score of 76-82 as my official picks. And, yeah, guys, I mean, let's just go with it. Submit picks. It is official. We are in. And I am selecting Michigan State to win the NCAA tournament. Look, I get it. It's a crapshoot, guys. It really is just a crapshoot. There is no guarantees on who's going to win this, but I think I think you just have to go with percentage odds. The odds say Duke has the best chance of winning this, just because they have the best team, in my opinion. But in this tournament, things change. An injury here, a bad foul there, a slump here, a slump there, a hot streak here, a hot streak there. Michigan State will have that turnout. They'll have guys that will be here next year. They had guys that were here the year before that. They have the constant of Tom Izzo. They've had this experience, and there is no pressure. There's only pressure on one team to win this tournament, that has to win this tournament, and it is the one that has 3 NBA lottery picks on it in Duke. You are not wrong for saying Duke is going to win the national championship. History might show that you were proven right, and it was the easiest decision you can make. In my bracket, Michigan State can be bounced Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday. It doesn't matter. Any of these teams can. But I'm going with the road with less obstructions. Up until the Final Four, Michigan State has a pretty good road to get to, up until at least the Elite Eight to meet Duke. And then you play Duke, and it's a crapshoot. At that point, when you're at the Elite Eight, Final Four, it is a crapshoot anyway. The question isn't, aren't some of these teams going to make it to the Final Four or the Elite Eight? It's how much of resistance, how much work are they going to have to put in the first round or the second round? How much energy do they have to put out? And if Michigan State or Duke, Kentucky, Villanova, Virginia, name a team, Gonzaga, if they have an easy first 2 rounds and they're able to get to the Sweet 16, to the Elite Eight, and wait until the Elite Eight to get a real matchup, and then that way you just got to play your best game. And that's what it's all about. But that is it, guys. I have picked Michigan State to cut down the nets and win this year's men's NCAA basketball tournament in March Madness. It's going to be some fun times. We are just a little bit over an hour and 20 minutes until tip-off of the second round, even though it's the first round. We all watched that. Let me take a quick sip of my coffee. Thank you, Spider-Man. So that was fun. That was a good time. I don't think you can ever feel really good about these bracket selections. Like, how could you? We don't really know. You don't watch all these games. You watch John Morant when he's on television. You watch Duke because they're out on a lot, but you don't watch Villanova games unless you're in Philadelphia. And even then, how often are you watching Seton Hall or St. Mary or Belmont, Liberty? That's what I love about this tournament, though. We're all geniuses for 20 seconds when we're filling out the brackets. But I thought this was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I really want to know what you guys think about this new format that we're doing. So kind of give you guys a little bit of a sneak preview. If, let's say, for example, on the next episode of Sports from the Couch, we have a lot of stories that we got to get to. Eloy Jimenez signs a new contract, and I'm very interested to see how White Sox fans feel about that. We are just, 10 days away from, not even, we're 7 days away from Cubs and White Sox starting. Baseball already had its first game of the season in Japan, and then people wonder why, they have such a hard time marketing when, did you know there was a game on? It's not the problem that it was in Japan, but did you know there was a game on? And you couldn't watch it because of blackout restrictions. So we'll talk about all that. But, for example, if we wanted to bring up a specific target, just kind of give you guys a preview of how this would go, you would hear me talk, and we would go to something like the logo. And you will actually have visual ideas of what we're talking about. You will have examples of it. And we will be able to come back into the show and have interactions with it. This will also allow me to have a side technology to look at what you guys are tweeting at and messaging and posting. So it's a lot. We're definitely changing things around. If you look around the entire studio, we're setting up for different shoots. So right now, this is going to be the sports section of the studio. Right over here, we have the pop culture stuff. Nicole has her writing area right around here. We have everything set up. We have Alex's cage, where Alex sleeps in between podcasts, is right there. I can see it right there. So we have a lot of cool stuff happening over here in the network. But thank you guys so much for joining us on this very special selection pick show of March Madness, our bracket. Obviously, it's going to suck, obviously. But a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing this with you guys. So we'll continue to do things like this. And you're going to see a lot of us here. And I cannot wait to have better technology and better ways to make this entertaining for you guys. So I think all in all, doing this show, the one thing that I've really enjoyed is knowing that you guys are going to have a good time with me. And now that we have this different way of being interactive, I'm super excited about what it could possibly mean for the rest of the show. But guys, I think that's it. We have music playing us out nowadays, so that's really fun. That's some entertaining stuff. So guys, I've had a long night. All right, thank you. I love you guys so much. Make sure you're following us all over the network. I'm on Twitter at mmercado2333. I'm on Instagram, MikeMercado2333. Like us on Facebook at Mercado Airwaves. Follow the network on Twitter at Mercado Airwaves. Make sure you're checking out the podcast, Murder Mysteries and More, The Good Brothers, Typing When Tipsy, Sports from the Couch, and everything in between. Go to patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. There you can get our interviews ad-free and before anybody else with celebrities and athletes. Patreon.com/Mercado Airwaves. Do us a huge favor, guys. Wherever you get your favorite podcast, like, rate, review, and share us. It really helps us out, expand the brand, and get a new audience feed, get some new friends into here. So please do us that huge favor. You guys have been awesome with doing that for us, so we really appreciate it from the bottom of our heart. A huge shout out to Munch Art Design that you see powering us a lot of this stuff. Please like them on Facebook at Munch Art Design. But guys, enjoy the games. We'll see you next time here on Sports from the Couch on the Mercado Airwaves Network.